This week we're going to talk about quarterback processing and the pre-snap reads, the post-snap reads, how to put those together and what it all means. Now, we're coming off of a meeting where we were talking about the basic setup. So let's do that first. Let's get into our basic setup. I'm going to do a two safety basic setup. What does that mean? I'm going to put my defensive backs all in a line. I got four defensive backs, two safeties in the game. I'm going to take my linebackers, Sam, Mike, and Will, and I'm going to put them on the linebacker level. All right, and I'm going to get into just an even front where both guards are covered with my defensive tackles. Let's put them in two techniques. No, let's tell you what, let's put them in three techniques here. We got threes and fives, and we're in a really nice basic setup. It's a 2-by-2 formation. So before we can get into processing, we have to really get into coverages. So I'm going to do a little bit of coverage work here first, and then we'll get into the QB processing piece of it. First off, we want to be able to decipher whether it's man or zone. That is the most critical element of what we're doing in our pre-snap read. So first thing we're looking at is leverage. So leverage is a term defined as being inside or outside of an offensive player. So if this corner has inside leverage, the cornerback is inside of the Z, right? So if he has outside leverage, he's outside of the Z. That has meaning. Typically inside leverage dictates man-to-man coverage. Not in every case, but generally that's what we're going for. If we get inside leverage, we're thinking man. The other piece of it is this linebacker. Where is he? If this linebacker was playing man, let's say this was a nickel Sam, and he was playing man on the Y, he wouldn't play man on the Y from an apex position, right? Apex being splitting the difference position. He would be in an inside eye technique, right? So we're trying to identify whether these linebackers are in man-to-man or not. If they're splitting the difference, they are not in man-to-man, right? Now that doesn't mean that they can't be playing man from depth from a safety position. They can, and oftentimes, you might get a stacked relationship like this, where you can sort of tell that the safety is backing up the Sam because the Sam's going to blitz, right? So those stacked relationships can be important. So what we're looking for from a man or zone concept is what is the leverage of my corners, right? What is the leverage of my linebackers? If they're in an apex position, that zone, if they're in a inside eye position, then that indicates man-to-man. Do I have stacked relationships? Okay. And then last but not least, we've talked about the defensive fronts. If I get some kind of a bear front, right, that could also be an indicator of man-to-man. All right, so those are the things that we're looking for from a pre-snap standpoint from a zone or man position. And let's talk about what the coverages are. Now, these are really simple. Zone coverage first. Let's just talk about 2, 3, 4, and 6. So think of it this way. If I have cover 2, that means I have 2 deep. Well, if I have 2 deep, that basically says that my safeties are going to split the field in half. Okay? And if they split the field in half, that means my corners are going to rotate up into the flat. That's essentially what we're saying. You don't have to see the corners. You're not going to see the corners a lot of times. You're going to look at these safeties. You're going to know it's zone. And as soon as they get wide, you're going to know it's cover 2. That tells us that the corners are rolled up into the flats. They're typically outside, right? If they're playing good cover 2, they're going to be outside looking in. All right, and that would be a standard cover 2 situation. Cover 3 is basically 3 deep, so we're going to have some kind of rotation. If I have 2 safeties like this, and they're going to play cover 3, one of these safeties is going to rotate. So I'll give you a strong rotation first. So that would be the strong rotation here. Boom, he's going to rotate to the middle of the field, and I know that my corners have deep thirds. All right, deep thirds. So that is just strong rotation. Why? Because we have the Y here as our tight end, and the rotation is going to the Y. So if I was to get weak rotation, it would just simply be the safety would rotate here and he would rotate there. Now, you might be in a situation where they call that cover 7 or some other coverage. We just call it cover 3 weak, very simply. There's a couple other variations of cover three. We can roll cover three with a corner, right? So we can play cover three with a corner rotation. Imagine this guy going straight back. That's can be more tricky. It's a good disguise. It can um, get us quarterbacks, catch us a little bit because we're always anticipating those safeties to be the rotated players. But you can rotate the corner into the flat and play cover three over the top of it with a corner rotation. You can also, in cover three, drop this guy into the box and then buzz the backer. So, there's three buzz. All right. So three can happen a lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, it's three deep. Okay. Three deep. Cover four is simply four deep. So in cover four, we're looking for those safeties to go straight back. And here they go straight back into their quarter of the field. When the safeties stay narrow like this, it tells us that the corners have deep responsibility. Now, just because they have deep responsibility doesn't mean they're going to line up deep. A lot of times these guys will get inside or they'll press and they'll bail, right? And they're trying to get us off of throwing the hitch, because they're very vulnerable out here in the flat. So, but what we're looking for is what are the safeties doing? So, from a pre-snap look, we have apex linebackers, we have head up to outside techniques on the corners. We're anticipating zone, and as soon as those safeties stay narrow, we know we have cover four based on what these two safeties do. And then last but not least, cover six or quarter, half. Basically, what we're saying here is we have one quarter of the field, quarter, and then a half field player. So we have cover two on one side and cover four on the other. 2 plus 4 is 6. So let's roll up the weak side. Let's play cover two to this side here. This safety takes half field. That always tells us that the corner is going to rotate. And now this side is going to have that quarter of the field, and then this player has this quarter of the field. So teams might do this if they have a great boundary corner that's good against the run, and they want to just he's not good in coverage. He's going to come up and be a run guy on the weak side. That's a possibility. Maybe you've got a cornerback out here who's super wicked fast and does a great job of like sitting deep and then jumping things. A lot of times they're trying to bait quarterbacks to throw the down and out or things over to the field where this guy can make plays. So there's lots of different ways reasons why they might play cover six, but it's a good mixer, right? It's half the field is cover two and half the field is cover four. Okay, so that's the zone coverage. Now there's a lot of other derivatives and way to get to those elements, but basically it's two deep, three deep, four deep, or quarter, half. All right, and that's the general zone coverages. So when we're looking at man coverages, things change a little bit. We're going to get a different look pre-snap. We're probably going to get something like this, or let's say, they might kick this down into a bare front, and then this guy gets here, and we get a stacked relationship. So that tells us, we might be expecting the will. Here he comes walking down. That tells us that the free safety playing man-to-man on H. Same thing here. We could get, that inside eye technique. And they can play man from depth. I think one of the misnomers is that a lot of young quarterbacks think that if it's man to man, they're going to be pressed. That's not always true. I mean, playing man to man like 3-4 yards off is still man to man. It could be 8 yards off at playing man to man, right? So don't think about how close they are. Think about whether they're inside or outside. So from standard conventional man coverage, we're going to get inside eye techniques. Why? Because this corner has this Z all over the field, right? It wouldn't make sense for him to line up here and then try to cover the Z all the way across the field. He doesn't have position, right? So, he's going to want to be in good inside technique position. So man to man is real simple. If it's man to man with 0 players deep like this, it's cover 0. If it's man to man with 1 player deep who's going to cover sideline to sideline, that's cover 1. All right, that's cover 1. It's not cover 3, right? It's very important. A lot of the quarterbacks make mistakes. Well, I got a single high safety. It's cover 3. No, you have to decipher whether or not it is man or zone. And then from there, go into your zone family or go into your man-to-man family and be able to decipher what the coverage is. So the difference in cover three is that this free safety only has a third of the field. In man-to-man cover one, the safety has all the way over to sideline, 53 and a third, all the way across. He's going to line up deeper than he would be in cover three. Okay. Remember, cover three zone. Cover one is man with one deep player. Okay. So I also have one robber here, and that's another way in which we can affect the quarterback. So one robber would be a scenario where we have cover one, right? So you can see the Will and the corner and the Sam and they're all in man-to-man coverage. And in cover one of these safeties is going to get back and play the middle of the field, but the other safety is going to drop into an area and rob an area of the field. Now, he can rob another player, he can rob the quarterback's eyes, he can rob the middle, he can rob whatever he's told to rob. But he's a free guy doing all kinds of things here that you're not maybe expecting. And it's a very good way to take someone out of the game, right? Let's say this is a really great player. We're gonna play one robber, and this safety now is gonna be looking for anything across the middle with H, or maybe they're just gonna double him, so that if the H goes inside, he takes him. If the H goes outside, the Will is gonna take him. Something like that, like a tandem kind of situation. But robber is a good way to take something away from the quarterback that he's not expecting, right? He's not expecting, because if you're reading the quarterback's eyes and the quarterback looks to the left, then the robber goes left. If the quarterback looks right, the robber goes right. It's hard to tell where that guy's going to be. And then last but not least, let's talk about two-man. And basically all that is it's two deep safeties, right? So we talked about cover two just a minute ago. Boom, two deep safeties, and then man-to-man everywhere else. Okay, that's all it is. So now that we know the coverages, let's talk about quarterback processing for a second. So let's draw up a simple play here. I'm going to put this guy in motion. We're going to run a seam post, all right, the old Texas route, a curl, and then we're going to take this guy and run him into the flat here. All right, run him into the flat, and then we'll do, I don't know, backside curl here. Okay, so let's say that that's what we have. That's our play. I don't know, spread right, H motion, 62 Texas, let's say. And so here we are, quarterback processing pre-snap. So here's the first thing that we're looking for. What's our alert? So in this kind of a play, the alert would be that deep seam post. And we're looking to, if that's there, we're going to take it, right? And so the situations like cover two would be a really great situation to take that seam post. If I had cover zero man to man, that might be a great situation to take that seam post. Those are two scenarios where we're alerting that. Okay, we're going to alert that. All right, so that's the first part of it. So we're thinking about that. We've called the play in the huddle. We've got a picture of it in our minds. And now the next thing is that we're looking at our protection. So we're in a six-man protection in this case, a big on big protection. That means my five bigs have the four down guys plus Mike. So in this case, I draw this little circle around my guys who are accounted for in the protection, right? And in this case, I know that my fullback is going to go to this side and pick up Sam. So this is the guy that I'm really worried about. If this guy comes, I have to throw the football. All right, this is the quarterback's man here. This is the seventh defender that they can bring. Okay, so that's the other piece of it. And from my protection, I'm thinking, am I going to be hot? So in this case, I don't really like that situation, making this Will the guy that is going to be the hot guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my Mike, but I'm going to instruct my fullback to come over here and take him instead. All right, so now my hot is going to be to the front side. Why do I want that? Because if this Sam comes, my hot is going to be this H here. Okay. Now, in all likelihood, that's going to be built into your play. Okay, so this is your hot or flare control route. That if the free man comes, we want to immediately throw it into the voided area. Okay, so now that we know that we have this protection set up properly, we know who the hot is, the H. Now we're looking, the next piece of it is what's going to happen post snap. So when I put H in motion, and let's say the will goes in motion with him, all right? The will goes in motion with him. We get this inside technique leverage from the corner. We get inside technique leverage from the corner. As soon as someone goes across in man to man, we know that the will goes with them. So we know we have man to man, right? We know we have man to man. And in this case, let's say we're going to get one robber. All right, we're going to get one robber here. So let's draw up the whole thing here for a second. We went with the will. The will's not there anymore. All right, the will's not there anymore. So now this fullback is going to scan to the next free guy. All right, so in this case, he was scanning here. Now, in this case, because the will disappears, he's going to scan over here to the Sam, okay? And when one robber, we're going to get this free safety, this strong safety. Let's say the strong safety is going to drop in. This guy's going to get back deep. And now in this case, we're going to bring the Sam, and the Sam's going to come. So the fullback in this case, who had the will initially, scans to pick up our other rusher, okay? And in this case, we are picked up, but we also want to attack the man-to-man here. So there's a big voided area in this situation where that Sam was, and as the H comes across in motion, we know we've got an advantage here. All right, we've got an advantage. So this would be a time in which the quarterback, as you drop back, we have the Sam coming off the edge. We have man-to-man coverage. We want to throw that football immediately out into the flat to take advantage of what is happening here. Now, if we had a situation where this guy was really covered, right, then we would simply process ourselves back to the second look here. This is 1, and this would be to 2. The alert would be off because we have a single high safety. The alert is not there, and this is how we would process this play. So just in recapping it, quarterback processing, we have a pre-snap arrangement where we're looking at what is our alert, what's the leverage, our protection, our hot, and then post-snap, is it man or zone? Are we getting rotation? And what decision do we want to make?